incident?
The effect of the 3 part-time positions obviously are important, but at this point in time, that's the least effect that it will do or take away from it. I really don't think it's going to be that big of an impact with it, but unfortunately in this situation here, I think we all have to bear a little bit of the pain necessary for it, and you know, I think that's why everybody came to the table with a little bit.
Oh, no, and absolutely. I just want to make sure that we're not going to end up spending more in overtime than we would just for these 3 part-time positions. That's my concern.
Right.
So, and you don't think that's going to be the case? You're not comfortable answering that question?
Well, like anything else, I mean, we're going to adjust our program with whatever positions are there. If for some reason, all of a sudden 6 people would retire and it would take a while to fill those positions, we would be completing the amount of work capable of with what we have at that point in time. Right now, I can say full-time, we only have 2 vacancies, so I mean, we're actually just about full force with that. So I'd say that that's the least effect that we would have, and we'll schedule accordingly like anything else.
So you don't see this as creating either a large increase in your overtime budget or a large reduction in what you were hoping to accomplish this summer with paving?
No.
Okay, thanks very much. And then the other one that I just had is a question, and Mr. Hartzell, I know if you were unable to check your budget book on this, but it's the $2,500 from the other contract services in the fire department for fleet upgrades and vehicle ply movement repairs. And I know that Mr. Glazier said that the majority of these acquisitions and repairs come from other accounts. So I guess my real question is, if the majority of it comes from other accounts, what is this $2,500 going to be used for? Because this is, my concern is long-term health and welfare of employees and long-term health care costs.
I do need to go, I would have to look at the book just to be sure that I knew specifically what it was.
Okay, if
I
it
have
would,
the book if anyone wants.
Thank heaven for the 4th estate.
Thank you.
Mr. President, I'm happy to yield to anyone else that has any questions or the public while Mr. Hartzell looks this up.
Proposed though.
I have the details.
That's the
It is proposed.
Yeah, that wouldn't be the
But
same
you don't
one.
give me the final.
All right, while Mr. Hartzell is looking at the budget book, anybody else from council? Anybody from the public? Okay.
Tom Bonnie, NW 1623. I need to ask the question of the part-time employees that were trained last year for painting lines, using the spray painter, and doing all those things. Are these the same people we're talking about, that if they go find other jobs or something, then we have to spend money to retain the people? I just don't understand what these people actually do, that we want to get rid of them. Wouldn't it make the job faster if they were working, painting the lines after it was down? And the other thing, because I noticed that they're out there, they drive a truck, they're getting out, they're painting the lines with a roller instead of using the sprayer. They're masking them off with tape. These are part-time workers that I asked, you know, what they were doing, were they summer help or what they were doing. I mean, are these the people we're talking about?
I think basically what happened is each department head went through and said, where can I cut some money and transfer it over here? So, I mean, if you can answer his question very quickly.
And these are actually unfilled positions at this point. These were new positions, and we were going out to try to fill those, but these are unfilled positions right now. This has nothing to do with the line painting, this has nothing to do with any of
So
it.
it's coming from the vacancy.
They are.
That's the vacancy money we're talking about.
No, that we were going to fill them. If you take a look on the website, they're on there, and we were trying to fill them.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else from the public? All right, I guess we're all sitting here waiting for Mr. Hartzell. That would be a mean joke. Your 3 minutes are up.
Councilman Robinson, we're looking at, is this the $5,000 item under other contract services and fire?
5,000 was the total. This is gonna be the $2,500 in the detail for the vehicle fleet maintenance and the ply movement.
I help if I'm in the right, I was.
It was in the other contract services 46.
Exactly, and I was looking in the wrong bureau here just a second. It's one of those days. Let's see. Fleet upgrade costs above standard vehicle ply movement repairs. There's 9,000 in the budget. This would bring it down to 6,500.
All right, thank you very much, Mr. Hartzell, I appreciate that.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you for your indulgence, Mr. President.
All right, thank you. I think this is an old joke, but we're waiting for Hillary again. As soon as she comes back. We can call the vote, unless there's somebody else from the public. You know what, so we're gonna call the vote. All right, Mr. Hanlon, if you would call a vote on bill number 14.
Okay, 14 as amended, Ms. Mota,
Yes.
Mr. Robinson,
Yes.
Mr. Zuko,
Yes.
Ms. Zappa,
Yes.
Mr. Greedy,
Yes.
Mr. Hendricks,
Yes.
Ms. McLean.
Yes.
President, 7 yeas and no nays.
R56, please, resolutions for final passage, R56.
R56 authorizes the submission of an application to the Pennsylvania Department of Transportation for a grant of $27,902 for pedestrian safety enhancement operations.
Anybody from council? I see Assistant Chief Struss coming up to the table. This is yours?
Yes, Mr. President. We are applying for a grant through PennDOT for a pedestrian safety grant. For that amount, the primary goal of the application is to get the grant to increase pedestrian and driver awareness, impacting pedestrian safety in the city. Allentown was ranked #2 in the state for pedestrian accidents. That is one of the main reasons why we're requesting this grant. It will include education of pedestrians and drivers, and also enforcement.
Okay, thank you, and I see there's no match except for time, personnel.
Correct, it's a 4-month grant, and the majority of the grant will go for the cost of the police doing the enforcement.
Okay, and I think that's a good thing, because I see people walking right out in front of moving cars, and I see people waiting on the side and cars slamming on their brakes to let them walk across, so that's a...
Correct, it's a dual
needs
purpose to
education.
educate the drivers and the pedestrians to lower the number of pedestrian accidents.
Very good, thank you. Any questions from the council? Any comments?
Yeah, I do have a comment, though. I agree with this. I can't tell you how many times I don't think pedestrians or drivers realize green is always the right of way. You know, there's so many people that are making turns, and pedestrians are coming across the street, and, you know, the drivers are yelling at them. But, you know, they have the right of way, and I think it's constant in the city of Allentown, and I agree with this 100%.
Thank you. Public?
Hi, Lou Shoup, 625 North 6th Street. I seem to remember long ago, in a distant galaxy, when I first got my driver's license, that the driver's license manual that I studied at the time phrased it as to yield the right-of-way instead of to claim the right-of-way. Just thought I'd point that out. Thanks.
Agreed. Anybody else from the public? Seeing no one, Mr. Hanlon, vote on R56.
On the grant, Mr. Robinson,
Yes.
Mr. Zuko,
Yes.
Ms. Zappa,
Yes.
Mr. Greedy,
Yes.
Mr. Hendricks,
Yes.
McLean.
Yes.
Ms. Mota.
Yes.
President, 7 yeas and no nays.
R57, please.
R57 authorizes encroachment for a handicapped access ramp to a building access at 725 North 15th Street, and it's here to you because of the 1/3 rule.
Mr. Berger?
Yes, okay. All right, this is, actually the property owner came in to our office wanting to upgrade this handicap ramp that was existing at the property for access to the house. If you have the pictures with you there, if you can take a look at these pictures, our public right-of-way is actually 8 foot wide, which goes right up to the front of the building. This old setup in here with a ramp and steps was something that was done many years ago that was not approved by us. What they came in and proposed actually, and it makes this area much better than what it is. They want to eliminate the step. They want to take the ramp. Actually, they stopped in again 2 days ago. They actually want to make the width only 4 foot at the house, set back the front door a foot to give them their 5 foot landing, which is required by ADA. Our sidewalk area will actually be opened up to 4 foot without a tripping hazard there with the step. So we had no problem with approving this.
Very good, thank you. Anything from council? I think, I agree with you looking at the pictures. Anything from the public? Mr. Hanlon, R57, please.
Mr. Zuko?
Yes.
Ms. Zappa?
Yes.
Mr. Greedy?
Yes.
Mr. Hendricks?
Yes.
McLean?
Yes.
Ms. Moda?
Yes.
Robinson?
Yes.
There's 7 yeas and no nays.
Thank you very much. R58, please.
R58 approves the certificate of appropriateness for 348 North 8th Street, except for any demolition of the structure.
This, I think, was in your committee, Mr. Robinson? This was in your
Yes, it
committee?
was, Mr. President. So this was in the committee last week. We discussed the issue. This again was forwarded unanimously with the amendment to remove any reference to demolition. There were a number of people from HARB and from the public that spoke about this. Just to give a very quick rundown for the benefit of any members who were not there and the general public. This is a property, this is actually a carriage house behind a property at the corner of 8th and Gordon. Several weeks ago, there was an issue in which the facade started to bulge out over Gordon Street. The city put some emergency bracing on the building, had not had access to the building when this was brought before HARB, and was concerned that there was the issue of an imminent structural collapse. So the original idea was, with the effort to try and save the building, and I have to emphasize that Mr. Kimmerly and Mr. Leitner both were doing everything possible to try and save the building, which thankfully we're moving forward with that. But the idea that if the building was structurally unsound, that a demolition permit would be issued. The old Allentown Preservation Association worked with HARB and the city to try and get access to the property from the property owners, which they then had. Emergency repairs have been made on the building to make it structurally sound. The building has been examined and is in better shape, and I know that the city is in the process of working with the property owners to try and figure out funding for the remaining repairs on the property. Now, they do not qualify for certain types of funding from the city, but there's other options and avenues that are being looked at. And I know that Mr. Leitner did want to keep demolition on the table with this. However, the concern is that, first of all, it would be a speculative demolition because we're not intending to demolish the property. It sets a bad precedent. If we give this authority to the city, very soon someone is going to come and ask us to give this authority to them as a property owner, and we're either going to have to do it because we set the precedent, or we're going to have to spend a lot of money with the solicitor's office defending ourselves that we don't have to do it. Number one. Number two, there's actually, when you read the HARB guidelines, and I sent this to all of my colleagues this morning, but I'm just going to read these from the HARB guidelines about demolition, 2 relevant pieces. All cases claiming clear and present danger must be accompanied by official documentation. And from the second point, the feasibility of rehabilitation must be investigated as part of an application for demolition. Written documentation must demonstrate that alternatives to demolition have been evaluated, including but not limited to rehabilitation, sale, and adaptive reuse. When this permit was brought to HARB, we didn't have any of those things in place. As you see when you read this, there is absolutely an effort to try and do rehabilitation of the property. And finally, and most importantly for me, is the fact that we're working on trying to move forward on this. So I don't think we should establish this as a policy. And also, I think that this body, which is the final determination of any type of certificate of appropriateness, including demolition, we have shown more than a willingness to schedule emergency meetings, because I know Mr. Leitner's concern was if the property owners don't cooperate and if the property gets worse in the future, we might need to demolish. We've shown a willingness to schedule emergency meetings with very little notice, and I know that several members of HARB, including the chairman, also expressed last week at the meeting and afterwards that they would be more than happy to also schedule an emergency meeting if this property deteriorates to that point. So I don't think we need to do this, and I would ask my colleagues to vote forward this resolution as it is amended, removing any reference to demolition from the certificate of appropriateness. Thank you very much, Mr. President.
Thank you, Mr. Robinson. Anything else from council? From the public? Mr. Hanlon, you want to call the vote, and it's as amended and removing the demolition.
All right, Ms. Appa,
Yes.
Mr. Green,
Yes.
Mr. Hendricks,
Yes.
Mr. McLean,
Yes.
Ms. Moda,
Yes.
Mr. Robinson,
Yes.
Mr. Zuko.
Yes.
Mr. President, 7 yeas and no nays.
Thank you, sir. Bill number 15, ordinances for introduction.
Bill number 15 amends the general fund budget and the equipment fund budget to provide for supplemental appropriation of $500,000 as a result of grant from the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania Department of Community and Economic Development Initiative Program to the fire department to provide for a fire pumper engine. The grant fund will be transferred from the general fund to the equipment fund for proper distribution.
That'll go to public safety, Mr. Hendricks, although I don't really expect that we should need a lot of discussion on it.
I don't think it'll be very
But I'm sure we will, so, okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Bill number 16, please.
Bill 16 amends the 2018 capital fund budget to provide for supplemental appropriation of $1,998. This is a result of a payment in lieu of tree plantings for the purchase of new street trees.
And I see we have it referred to Public Works, but maybe as a point of order, I don't know if we have to.
Mr. President, I was actually going to make a motion on this.
All right, then you make the motion on it too.
Since it's my understanding that we have already received the check, Mr. Mayor, is that correct?
Yes, we have the check.
Okay, great. Thank you. So being that we already have this check in hand, Mr. President, I'd like to make a motion that with an affirmative vote from 6 out of 7 members of council, we vote on this evening and suspend the 14-day requirement, or sorry, 10-day requirement for an ordinance to become law.
I'll second that because, like I said, we already have the check and it's in the bank. It's kind of silly to wait, so if we could get a vote on it.
And Ms. Furr, within that amendment appropriately worded?
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. President.
Mr. Hammond, if you want to call a vote with the amendment?
Okay, so the amendment would add a new section onto the bill that basically says upon 6 of 7 votes of approving the bill, so that the 14-day time period is suspended, so we'll do that by common consent. So yes, by common consent.
Good.
Okay, and then on the bill itself,
Want me to do comments, consent also? Oh, public, I'm sorry. Any comment from the public? Seeing none?
common consent?
I'm good with it.
Okay,
We're all
common
good?
consent.
Okay. Resolutions for introduction can be voted, but that's referred to committee. New business. Seeing none. Good and welfare.
Mr. President, I do have something for good and welfare.
Okay, Mr. Robinson.
Thank you, Mr. President. Not to try and take anyone away, especially Mr. Hendricks, from the potential of a 45-mile bike ride, but this Sunday at 1 p.m. in the Bethlehem Rose Garden, the Lehigh Valley Labor Council will be holding their annual Workers' Memorial Ceremony, where they will be reading the names of workers lost in the line of duty. And this year, I believe they are reading the names of workers from 1912, which it's actually a few hundred people. But added to that as well, they're going to be including the name of Allentown Fire Department Battalion Chief Rick Schott, as considered, since recently it was considered that his death was in the line of duty. They are going to be including his name. I will be in attendance. I hope that some, if not all, of my colleagues, thank you, Ms. Martin, would consider to be in attendance. And again, it's going to be 1 p.m. at the Bethlehem Rose Garden, and if it's rain, they usually do it inside of the cabin there. It's open to the public, so I would invite anyone here in attendance if they have an interest. It's a very moving and beautiful ceremony as well. So thank you very much, Mr. President.
And I just want to say that I did receive an invitation too, but I already have, I've been planned out of town for this Sunday, so I won't be able to make it. And I know Rick for many years, so we serve as police department. Okay, seeing nothing else in good and welfare, it's time to adjourn. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Thank you. Meeting is adjourned.